and the class of 1991 is thankful for all the people who contributed to their education, including parents, teachers, principals, and counselors. The students are indeed grateful for the opportunities given them for their achievements here at Farmington High School. I would like to ask a blessing upon those who are to speak to us tonight, that they may do so in the manner which they prepared it and be comfortable. I would also like to ask for your guidance upon the class of 1991 as we venture into the world, that we may be successful. We are also thankful for the memories we have shared here together and will cherish them always. I pray for these things.
Holding tightly to the hands of our mothers, we entered kindergarten 13 years ago as strangers. Each and every one of us made friends, made new friends out of the strangers. In junior high, the circle broadened and new strangers became new friends. In 1988, once again, seeing unfamiliar faces, we began our high school career. Now in 1991, we prepare to enter yet another foreign place with foreign faces. We will hold familiar these friendships in our hearts forever. They will never end. Welcome, family and friends, to baccalaureate.
Don't you weep, tell Mother, Mother, don't you moan. Oh, Mary, don't you weep, tell Mother not to moan. Mother, don't you moan. Let a rose on me, drown in the Red Sea. Oh, yes, I'm singing Mary. Oh, Mary, don't you weep, tell Mother not to moan. Mother, don't you moan. watching us from a distance. From a distance, you look like my friend, even though we are at war. From a distance, I just cannot comprehend what all this fighting's for. From a distance, there is harmony, and it echoes through the land. It's the hope of hope. It's the love of hope. It's the heart of every man. It's the hope of hope. It's the love of loves. This is the song of every man. God is watching us. God is watching us. God is watching us from a distance. Oh, God is watching us. God is watching us. God is watching us from a distance.
Okay, it's my honor to introduce the platform guest for this evening, Mrs. Joan Watkins, President of the School Board, Mr. Phil Martinez, Vice President of the School Board, Mr. Randy Rouse, Deputy Secretary of the School Board, Mr. Don Grace, Member of the School Board, Dr. Jim Miller, Superintendent of Schools, Miss Barbara Armbruster, Director of Secondary Education. And let's give a big round of applause to a man whose commitment to excellence has made Farmington High one of the finest, Mr. Barry Sigmund, Principal of Farmington High. Our platform speaker for this evening has dedicated 30 years of his life to education, 19 of them at being New Mexico's finest librarian. He's also been the bishop of the LDS 4th Ward for 4 years. I'm happy to introduce Mr. David Butler.
Looks like we're going to have to hurry to get through this. I'll try my best. I'm supposed to begin with President Watkins and Superintendent Miller, Principal Sigmund, other platform guests, ladies and gentlemen, and the class of 1991 Farmington graduates. Many things have kind of tried to dampen this occasion, and it's still working hard here. I know that all of us felt sad this past week as one of your classmates left this life, and we have a great love and sympathy that we would want to extend to that family of Robert Martinez. Last night, some choices were made that probably were pretty poor choices, and some of you will, I'm sure, regret those things that happened last night if you were involved. I hope, though, that it would be a learning experience, that we might go forth from tonight and band together and look for the positive, because this is a great community that we live in. Some years ago, 1980, as I came to this stadium, my oldest daughter, Danae, graduated. Now 6 years later, well, more than that, isn't it? 1991, my youngest daughter of 6 children, Darcy, is graduating. So it's a special occasion for me to be here and to be asked to be your speaker. It's a great privilege and a humbling experience. I'd like to thank those who honored me on April 22nd. I came to school that morning, and as I was driving with my daughter, she said, "Look, Dad." I looked up, and there on it was a marquee, and it said, "Happy Dave Butler Day," and that was the first I knew about it. I must have had my head in the sand. I'd like to thank the administration and the students and staff, the mayor of Farmington, the city, and merchants for that wonderful day. It's a day I'll not forget, and I thank you very much for it. I'd also like to thank the teachers of my 6 children, and I know that the graduates here tonight are grateful for their teachers that they've had over the years. A special group that deserves thanks tonight would be your parents, and one way I can suggest is that as you leave Farmington High and go out into the world, that you would live the kind of life and the principles that they've taught you. That's the way we honor parents. You 1991 graduates probably think that I'm kind of a mild-mannered librarian, but had you known me a few years ago, you might have had a different opinion. I was working in the library one day, and I had 3 young people walk in, and they asked to see one of the students that worked in there. And I said, "Well, no, he's not here today." And as I visited with them, I soon realized, hey, these were not Farmington High School students, and they had come to inflict bodily harm on my student. So I talked with them and asked them their names, and they started moving towards the door. So I followed them, and they walked out the library door, and I followed them, and they walked out into the quad, and I followed them, and pretty soon they were running, and I was running, and I looked back over my shoulder, and I heard footsteps, and I looked back, and there was one of the assistant principals, and he had joined in the chase too. So here we were, those 3 and myself and an assistant principal, and pretty soon they split, and so we split, and we caught up with them, and we hauled them into the office. Well, I don't remember all the details and what happened after that, but I do remember in the coming weeks when some students came into the library, they'd seen us running across the quad, and they said, "Gee, Mr. Butler, you're sure tough on people that have book fines." Well, I'm going to be a little tough on you tonight, but I think we'll make it through okay. I was asked to speak to you tonight, not because I'm your librarian, but because I'm a bishop in the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints. The purpose of a baccalaureate talk, I feel, is to help all of us, but especially you graduates, to pause and reflect a little bit about your spiritual nature, your divine nature. And also, secondly, to consider some of the moral principles and values that each of us have been taught. And whether we choose to accept those or reject them will be up to us as we go out into life. Probably you graduates would agree with me that some of your best teachers, including your parents, are those who asked you questions, and good stimulating questions, and then left it up to you to find the answers. Tonight, while I feel that I have many answers, I'm going to ask you more questions than I will give answers. Because I feel that if you really want to know answers to things, that you'll go out and seek them yourself. Your education to this point should have taught you to learn how to learn, to question things that you see, hear, and read. Tomorrow's graduation is called Commencement because you'll now commence in the process of lifelong learning. And this will be to your benefit if you accept it that way, and if you go out with wanting to know, wanting to learn. It'll be a continuing education, provide much interest in your life. As a librarian, I'm asked some interesting questions. Just recently I was asked to find the address for Saturday Night Live, and I'd better hurry, hadn't I? And another student came and asked for a diagram of the physiology of a rat, because she was dissecting one. Most recently, we acquired a couple of books that I'd like to share some ideas with you. They have a lot of good questions and answers. One of them is called, when do fish sleep? And the other one is called, why do dogs have wet noses? These were written by David Feldman, and as I looked through these books, some of the questions caught my eye. Oh, why do you close your eyes when you sneeze? Why do roaches die on their backs? Why do clocks run clockwise? And why is yawning contagious? I don't see any yawning yet, but it could happen. Do submarines have anchors? Why do we kiss under the mistletoe or in the halls of FHS? Why can't we tickle ourselves? Why does the groom carry the bride over the threshold? Why is a manhole cover round? Actually, I asked some students that question, and they had a pretty good answer. While these are fun and interesting questions, I believe that there are 3 questions that we all ought to ask ourselves at some point in our lives. They're so important because they help us understand our spiritual nature. Perhaps you've already asked these questions and have found answers. Number 1, did we exist before we came to this earth? Number 2, do we exist when we leave? And number 3, what is our real purpose in being here upon this earth? These are difficult questions. I've not had anybody come into the library and ask me these questions as such. But I have had people come in, students come in and ask about abortion, euthanasia, capital punishment, those kinds of things, evolution. These things could relate. Great thinkers of the past and present have attempted to answer these questions. Many of us have found answers in religion, philosophy, mythology, or science. I would hope that each of us would seek to find answers to these basic questions because the answers will give direction in our lives and provide the incentive and courage to perform well. Questioning is good, but as you question, we need to place our trust in God. In the New Testament, as Christ was concluding his Sermon on the Mount, he said in Matthew 7:7, "Ask and it shall be given you, seek and ye shall find, knock and it shall be open unto you." Certainly God, who is omniscient, is the primary source and should be approached often through prayer. If we overcome trials in life, we'll do it because we place our trust in God. Proverbs 3:5 says, "Trust in the Lord with all thine heart, and lean not unto thine own understanding." Regarding moral principles, may I share an experience I had in the 4th grade. That year, my teacher was Mrs. Hazel Stewart, and she had taught all of my older brothers and sisters, and by the time I got to her class, she had become kind of a legend in our small city in Shelley, Idaho. And as I came to that class, I was suffering a bit from lack of self-esteem. I sat by a very brilliant fellow by the name of Marvin, and Marvin knew everything. I knew very little, it seemed. And so where did I get my answers? From Marvin. Well, Mrs. Stewart was a pretty sharp teacher, and it didn't take her long, and soon she moved me clear across the room and sat by a beautiful young girl named Arlene. And although beautiful, I pretty soon found out that my answers were as good or better. And so it wasn't long before I realized, hey, I can find answers for myself. I don't need to cheat. And it was that year and with that teacher that I gained back my self-esteem because I knew I could find answers. I hope that when you have, if any of you, have been through an experience like that or a consequence would be such as I had, that I was able to raise my self-esteem because I was corrected. Tomorrow night, you'll be walking up to this platform to receive your diploma. Will you be able to answer honestly in your heart, have I really earned it? I hope that you can say, yes, I have. If not, I would hope that you'd be willing to commit to some honesty in your future. In the 13th of May 1991 issue of People magazine, there was a study conducted by Rutgers University, and in this study they came up with some interesting things I'd like to share. One was that they found that in this study 67% of the students in college that they surveyed admitted to cheating sometime in their undergraduate career or in their undergraduate years. And the man pointed out this: the thing that scares me is that these are the academic elite, the future leaders of America. And their attitude is, society owes me, why should I do the work? Other reasons given for cheating were that national leaders have been exposed, and therefore it's okay if I'm a little bit dishonest. Some of the methods used in cheating, well, another reason they gave was because they don't want to fall to the bottom of the grading curve. Have you ever had that problem? So you cheat because if you don't cheat, everybody else is cheating. Therefore, you gotta do it. That's the reason they gave. Well, many of the ways that people cheat, of course, is peering over your neighbor's shoulder, or it might be taking a crib sheet to a test, or nowadays, they're finding high-tech cheating going on, which I'm sure that you graduates are very well aware of it, but in the colleges, you can find students who can put whole semester's notes in their calculators and take it to class, take the test. Well, while the colleges are attempting to deter this type of thing, it does go on. The only way I know to stop this type of thing is to commit to being honest. And this is what I'd like you to do tonight. These are getting pretty soggy up here. It's easy to rationalize dishonesty by saying everyone does it, but that doesn't make it right, and if you'll listen to your conscience, it will tell you. Alexander Pope, the great English poet, said this: vice, and we could substitute dishonesty, is a monster of so frightful mien as to be hated, needs but to be seen. Yet seen too oft, familiar with her face, first we endure, then we pity, then we embrace. Society has almost embraced dishonesty. This is to our detriment and is contrary to the God's law as given in Moses in the Old Testament, wherein he said, "Thou shalt not bear false witness to thy neighbor." And who is our neighbor? Everyone is our neighbor. That's still a great law today, and sometime, somewhere, dishonesty needs to stop. I challenge the class of '91, do your part by committing to adhere to this great principle of honesty. The change must come about through individuals. For as Shakespeare said in Hamlet through the character Polonius, "This above all, to thine own self be true." And it must follow, as the night the day, thou canst not then be true, cannot be false to any man. I've been very fortunate in my life to have worked with people and things that I particularly enjoy. I've worked with youth. I've had the opportunity to work with music, which I truly enjoy. Wonderful music tonight. We thrilled as we sat here and listened to the choir and the orchestra. As a librarian, I enjoy books, and I've also, over the years, had the opportunities to work in movie theaters. From my experience, may I share what I've learned? There's so many great books, the Bible being one of them, much great music, so many fine movies, that I hate to waste my time with things that are degrading or inferior. Fortunately, in this land of America, we are free to choose, and I would encourage all of us to choose out which would uplift us and nourish our spirits. Choose your heroes carefully, too. Often students come to the library and they study Adolf Hitler and Al Capone and Charles Manson, and that's okay because they're part of history. A few of you come in, you study about Albert Schweitzer and Marie Curie and maybe Jesus Christ, who is my personal ideal. Few then study these, but I would encourage all of us to learn about great men and women of the past and present, to choose to identify with those that have high morals, and then pattern your life after them. As you graduate and go out into the world, I'd hope that you'll continue to ask important questions about life and strive to find answers. Hope that you'll trust in God and pray to Him regularly, for He is certainly the source of all information. I hope that you'll choose to be honest with yourself, with your God, with your fellow men. As you do this, I hope that you'll surround yourself with music and films and books and friends and others that would uplift you and would be worthy of your divine nature. If you really knew who you were and why you're here on this earth, you would have purpose and direction. The direction then would likely turn towards serving your fellow men. It's been said that when you're in the service of your fellow beings, you're only in the service of your God. There's a sign at one of my alma maters, Brigham Young University, that says, "Enter to learn, go forth to serve." You graduates have had 12 or 13 years of learning. Now it's time to go forth and serve. I hope that you'll use, well, I want to give you one more saying. There's a saying that a man, meaning mankind, men, women, who plows and plows and never sows is like a man who studies and learns and never uses what he knows. I would hope that you'd go forth with this knowledge and learning and use what you know for the benefit of society. I've known some of you for many years and seen what you've done in the past 3 years and your personal struggles and victories, and I know that you have what it takes to be a success and find happiness in life. I congratulate each of you this night. Much is expected of the class of 1991, and may God bless you to achieve it.
Support us in the time of temptation. Help us do thy work with good courage. Through Jesus Christ our Lord. Amen.
States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Y'all can sit down now. Can I get a show of hands here? Who's ready to graduate? I was going to ask Jeff Townsend to write me a deeply intellectual speech, but he wouldn't. So, welcome to Commencement 1991. An excruciating 12 years we've spent getting here. And it ends tonight as we trade childhood for the responsibilities of adulthood and get a diploma in the bargain, along with this high-fashion hat. We leave all that's familiar behind us when we leave this field and trade it and enter new territory. It's frightening, it's exciting, and right now it's just an hour and a half away. So without further ado, ladies and gentlemen, I give you the class of 1991.
It's my honor tonight to introduce to you the platform party. Mrs. Joan Watkins, President of the School Board. Mr. Phil Martinez, Vice President of the School Board. Mr. Charlie Tyler, Secretary of the School Board. Mr. Randy Rouse, Deputy Secretary of the School Board. Mr. Don Grace, Member of the School Board. Mr. Jim Miller, Superintendent of Schools. Ms. Barbara Armbruster, Director of Secondary Education. And Mr. Barry Sigmund, Principal of Farmington High School.
I would like to thank my family, close friends, and teachers for all the support they have given me throughout my high school career. Contrary to recent belief, this class does consist of intelligent and responsible young adults. Got it! Most of us will succeed because we are willing to take necessary risks. These are the risks of leading a life that's not only true to others, but also true to ourselves. I would now like to read a poem by an unknown author entitled Risk. To laugh is to risk appearing the fool. To weep is to risk appearing sentimental. To reach out for another is to risk involvement. To expose feeling is to risk exposing your true self. To place your ideas, your dreams before the crowd is to risk loss. To love is to risk not being loved in return. To live is to risk dying. To hope is to risk despair. To try it all is to risk failure. But to risk we must, because the greatest hazard in life is to risk nothing. The man, the woman who risks nothing, does nothing, has nothing, is nothing. Throughout our lives, we will have success, failure, happiness, and sorrow. It is only through exposing our true selves that true fame and success will be achieved. Not the fame that comes from recognition from others, but the fame that comes from deep within us. This is the fame of doing what we want to do, standing up for what we believe in, and by accomplishing what we want to accomplish. Let us set our goals high and not worry about failing. John Milton, author of Paradise Lost, was not able to justify the ways of God to men. Ben Franklin discovered he cannot be perfect. Socrates was not able to make people reasonable and just. And Beethoven's music did not transcend fate. All these people did not accomplish their ultimate goal. But look at the monumental work and art they have created. In the words of Lawrence Shames, frequently success is what people settle for when they cannot think of something noble enough to be worth failing at. To me, this is success and fame. It is by being our true selves and showing who really is behind the mask that we all wear that this will be accomplished. This is the risk of life. In the words of a wise person named Naomi Shihab, I want to be famous in the way a pulley is famous, or a buttonhole. Not because it did anything spectacular, but because it never forgot what it could do. Do not forget what we can do, because we can change the world. If we set our goals high and be our true selves, this world will feel our presence. Thank you, and to the class of 1991, keep the good times rolling. And remember, we entered here as students, and we're leaving as tax-paying citizens, so we now own this place.
Farmington High School again this year is pleased to honor its honor graduates and their honored teachers. These are educators who have exerted a major influence on the lives of these honor graduates. This evening we would like to introduce the graduates, their honor teachers, the schools where the teachers have taught, and to indicate the plans that these honor graduates have for next year. Our first graduate this evening is Jeff Townsend. His honored teacher is Ms. Sammy Waldrop of Farmington High School. Jeff plans to attend Texas A&M next year. Our next honor graduate is Quellen Sneed. Her honored teacher is Mr. Gary Graham of Farmington High School. Quellen will attend the University of New Mexico next year. Honor graduate Sherry Winfield. Her honored teacher is Mrs. Deborah Keene of Hermosa Junior High. Sherry will also attend the University of New Mexico. Our next honor graduate is Angie McLemore. Her honored teacher and principal and mother is Mrs. Ginger McLemore from Country Club Elementary. Angie will also attend the University of New Mexico. Honor graduate Justin S. Treat. His honor teacher is Mrs. Vicki Lesperance, formerly of McKinley Elementary School. Justin will also attend the University of New Mexico. Honor graduate Chris Hanshaw. His honored teacher is Mrs. Lois Wigand of Hermosa Junior High. Chris will attend the United States Naval Academy next year. Honor graduate Benjamin Furman. His honor teacher is Mr. Marvin McIntyre of Farmington High School. Benjamin will be attending New Mexico Institute of Mining and Technology. Our next honor graduate is Travis McGee. His honored teacher is Mr. Ken Watson of Farmington High School. Travis will be attending BYU next fall. Honor graduate Matt Smith. His honored teacher is Mr. Galen Fox of Farmington High School. Matt will be attending the University of Massachusetts this fall. Honor graduate G.W. Posey. His honored teacher is Mr. Danny Massey of Farmington High School. G.W. will be attending Western New Mexico University. Honor graduate Christiane Bennell. Her honored teacher is Mrs. Jean Elledge of Farmington High School. Christiane will be attending the University of New Mexico this fall. Honor graduate Kenneth Stevens. His honored teacher, Kenneth's honored teacher is Mr. Don Newell of Tibbetts Junior High. Kenneth will be attending New Mexico State University. Honor graduate Mark Mordecai. His honored teacher is Mr. Doug Jacobs of Heights Junior High. Mark will be attending San Juan College this fall.